September the 23rd, and if it's 10 o'clock during hurricane season, that means it's time to track the tropics. From sunny Central Florida, I'm WESH 2 meteorologist Eric Burris.
And in Savannah, Georgia, I'm WJCL 22, Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Nelson, a busy Atlantic basin.
Boy, Jeremy, isn't it ever? Let's go right to the satellite imagery. We've got three areas that we are watching on the top of the screen there. That is, of course, Hurricane Gabrielle rapidly intensified. This thing became a beast of a storm. The good news is it's not bothering the United States or really anything but shipping channels. That said, though, we've got a few other areas that we are definitely watching today. Invest 93 and Invest 94.
Yeah, so I guess we could just start with Gabrielle because I think you and I were very impressed with the structure of this storm. Yesterday, it's still holding on. Very well defined eye. This is east of Bermuda, and I'll tell you what, those folks have to be extremely thankful. This stayed like 170 miles to the east of them. It's now picking up some speed, moving away. So, like you said, outside of shipping channels, or maybe this turns subtropical down the road in
Yep,
parts of Europe, we'll
right.
see some stormy weather from it, but by that time it should start to weaken.
That's right. So there it is. I mean, even just looking at the structure right now, it's impressive that man, 140 mile per hour winds is where it is currently. Now, when we look at the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center, here's the cone. It's a Category 4 storm right now, expected to remain a major hurricane through about Wednesday afternoon. Then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, notice it starts to lose those tropical characteristics. Spain and Portugal, there on the right side of your screen, they end up getting a coastal low. It won't be a hurricane or a tropical storm. It will have lost those tropical characteristics, but it's still going to be an impactful system for them. Definitely, definitely something that our friends out that way are going to have to deal with. But again, like you had said, Jeremy, the good news is this is not going to be a major storm for them.
No, so just some of the numbers on it. Seventh name storm, and this was our second major hurricane so far this season. So now our eyes are really focused in, kind of in a familiar area. It's basically where the bulk of our storms have been cruising along so far. You get to the northern Leeward Islands, maybe north of just some of those islands there in the Southwest Atlantic, Northern Caribbean, and then the focus is, hey, how close may something get to the
Right.
U.S.? So we have two invests out there right now.
Yep. So this is Invest 93. You see it on the center of your screen. It's decent convection. It doesn't show a massive structure of a storm system, but there's decent convection there. The official forecast from the National Hurricane Center does bring this to intensification. Okay, we think the next couple of days we're probably going to end up seeing a tropical depression or a tropical storm form. As a matter of fact, over the next 7 days' time, there is a 90% likelihood that this develops. This is Invest 93. This is kind of the further out of two areas that we are watching. The second one, Jeremy, this is Invest 94, a little closer to the Antilles.
Yeah, and that's the one. Do you? I don't know if you can, but maybe point out like where Puerto Rico is because this right now is a little bit east southeast of
Yep,
there. It's just kind of a messy low at the moment.
right,
Looks like it's getting the winds are shearing that, so the convection is down to the south of it. So not really expecting development here. Maybe in the short term, you can see that percent Eric put up there pretty low in the next 48 hours, only around 20%. This is
yep,
something probably by let's say maybe this weekend that we would be watching a little bit
right,
closer, and this does
right.
include a lot of Bahamas and the Southwest Atlantic. So this is one we're not saying it's going to threaten the U.S., but this is one I would say we need to pay the closest attention to for whether it's the southeast coast or up towards the mid-Atlantic.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because when you look at it, you've got two areas of development, both are at least working closer than we would like to the United States. So nothing is set in stone here in terms of impacts. And, we're not going to sit here and hype it and tell you we're going to get hit. Models do not show that, but the models
Right.
do show some complexity to this. And I think it's really important to just discuss like what the overall kind of steering patterns are. So if we look at these systems, okay, Gabrielle, Invest 94, Invest 93. The steering of them ends up being this kind of cold front or trough that should recurve and keep this out. The question, though, is A, how fast do these systems develop? B, how fast do they move? And C, and perhaps the most important one, How fast does that cold front move? And all of those together are going to end up being big question marks.
Yeah, and what I would say, whether it's for Florida or my viewers here at coastal Georgia into the low country, as you mentioned, really no one model is showing this kind of cruising its way westerly towards our areas. A couple models have hinted maybe more like Outer Banks of North Carolina or
Yep.
Eastern North Carolina
Right.
for 94L, which is the orange shaded one. But as you see there, that cold front will kind of give it a little bit of a bump and then start to turn north and northeast.
Right.
Also, I think it's a bit of a wild card here how strong this gets. So models have done okay this year in terms of the tracks, but I
Yeah.
would say for our two hurricanes, they vastly underdid some of the rapid intensification. That's always been a challenge.
Right. Well, and that's the struggle here, right? Because when you look at things, the dynamics change based on intensification, right? And so to that point, weaker goes west. If they get strong quickly, they're going to want to just naturally recurve via the Coriolis force. So then we get into a situation, Jeremy, where if these get stronger quicker, they may want to recurve. So there's a lot of well, and then what if they stay weak much longer, continue to move west, the cold front picks them up in the Gulf and kind of loops them back through. So it's important to note, we're going to look at all the model data here, but it's important to understand that um, there's a lot of question marks here. And because of that, it's just too early to really be able to tell what direction we go just yet. We'll look at the data though.
Yeah, and I think one thing we can be pretty certain of with 94L, if it does stay off the coast, even if it's a weaker type system, we're probably going to get those rip current risk
Oh
ramping
yeah.
up, some rough surf, potentially how high the tides are at the time, maybe some beach erosion. So
Yep.
those are the typical things we see with offshore tropical
Yep.
systems. The question is, how strong will this get? So what level will those impacts be at?
Right. So let's do this. Let's get right over to the raw computer models. Okay. This is the American GFS model. We'll just start there and give you an idea of the widescreen. Obviously, you've got Gabrielle at the center of the screen there. That's the storm system, of course, that thankfully is not making landfall on the United States or on Bermuda. After that, what we end up with is 94 kind of stays weak and ends up in the Caribbean. 93 tries to develop east of Florida, west of Bermuda, right? I'll take you in a little closer and you can see it there. And it becomes a hurricane or a tropical storm and ends up going either very near or right over Bermuda. So, to that point, this could be something that our friends in Bermuda have to deal with. But remember, this is one run of one model.
Yeah, in Bermuda, the benefit they have such a tiny island, and if we could just get this decent amount west or a little bit to the east,
Right.
they should be okay. I feel like anyone that would live on Bermuda, they kind of have been through this so many times each and every year with these recurving storms. So they're accustomed to this, but obviously don't want any impacts there. And we got so lucky.
The GFS thankfully does not look overly chaotic. The GFS thankfully does not look overly chaotic to the north of about. And what you end up with is this is the very end of the current run of the European. You've got some storm system off of the east coast of Florida, probably heading your direction, frankly, at least on this run. And then the other one further out, weaker. So I would say, at this point, what we're seeing is two models with two very different solutions, different solutions. Thus, consistency breeds confidence. It does not look like we've got a confident forecast from the models, at least based off of the deterministic or operational forecast from the models, at least based off of the deterministic or operational GFS and operational Euro.
Yeah, and can you just say one more time, kind of the time frame if we see something near the Bahamas or off the
Absolutely.
southeast coast or east coast, just kind of the what we're looking at because it really looked like kind of the average was somewhere around this weekend,
Yeah.
maybe early next week.
So this is the European. So this is Saturday morning. Okay. This is 8 a.m. Saturday morning, showing two weak tropical systems, one near the Turks Caicos, Bahamas, one outside of. So that's Saturday. Okay. That's Saturday night, 8 p.m. There's Sunday morning at 8 a.m., middle Bahamas, and then outside, right? And then we look at this is Sunday, 8 p.m., something basically east of about Vero Beach, Florida. And then by the end of this is the end of the deterministic Euro. So that's 2 a.m. Monday, basically some sort of a storm system offshore of Cape Canaveral, but kind of working closer to your direction. Now, if we look at the Euro one run back, look at how it's a little faster and a little weaker, taking it toward the Outer Banks by Monday. So it looks like late this weekend into early next week, according to the Euro, your area and my area will have something to watch. But again, looking over at the GFS, nothing really of concern. So it's important to know with the consistency not there among models, that's a low confidence in a forecast. But before and let's chat about it, and then I want to get into the ensembles because the ensembles obviously are very, very important.
So another thing that I looked at this morning, you don't have to bring it up, but you were mentioning that front that comes in. Some
Yes.
of the Euro AI almost had both of these merge up with that front and
Yeah.
be they were kind of like in a line from like north northeast. If you drew a line north northeast, just
Right.
one right almost on top of each other. So
Right.
I don't think models have a real good handle on this
Right.
right now. So that's why I think if you're Florida, Southeast, Mid Atlantic, coastal Carolinas, it's nothing to stress about right now. But this is something that we should be watching. Obviously, we're still kind of in this peakish part of hurricane season. The water temperatures are warm in this area, and I would say this weekend into early next week,
Yeah.
just at the very least, glance at Eric's updates, my updates at least once a day. Check out some of our newscasts. And we generally start with the tropics when we have something getting closer to the Bahamas.
Well, and it's not for hype, right? Like we do it because we know that people are interested in this sort of a thing. So
Right.
it's important that we discuss that, right? So yeah, I mean, great point. The models don't have a great handle on it. And that's where the ensembles come in really handy, right? Because the ensembles, and if you're unfamiliar, if you're new to tracking the tropics, think about it like this. The GFS and the European, the models that we use, they run based on mathematics. And then what happens is after they run, that's a baseline. Then we rerun them 30 different ways for the GFS, 50 different ways for the European, and basically say, okay, let's change a couple of the dynamics and see what happens there, just to give us an idea within the model of confidence, within the model where we're at, right? So here's the European, excuse me, this is the GFS ensemble, and let's just run through and we see two areas trying to form, but notice both of them stay away from Florida, away from coastal Georgia, away from South Carolina. Now, the models are looking like Invest 94 very well may get close to the Outer Banks, but it's just too early to tell. Um, at this point in time, at least, Jeremy.
And that's the GFS that you're showing.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, so you have kind of that both of the spread, and as you see all those little lows and circles, a lot of those stay away from Florida and the southeast coast,
Right.
as you were showing. So this would probably be definitely the preferred run
Yes.
that we would want here, impact
N-
wise, because there'd be virtually no impacts outside of what we mentioned earlier, some rip currents and some rough surf.
Right, coastal beach erosion and the like. Now, keep
Mhm.
going into October. Timestamp top right corner of your screen. So this is 12 Z time or 8 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, October 1st. Watch the Caribbean lifting some things into the Gulf. So we're starting to see that activity, right? So the ensemble is at least saying, hey, you know, October we need to start watching the Gulf, right? So that's the GFS ensemble. Let's come back over. Let's look at the European ensemble now, okay? And this is going to be a little different. Watch how a lot of those ensembles are much closer, Jeremy, to Florida, to South Carolina, to Georgia, and even into North Carolina. So the ensemble members are absolutely closer, a little too close for comfort.
Right. And for the average person looking at this, what we're really looking at is invest 93 to the right and 94 to the left,
Yep.
whatever they may develop into. So we're kind of looking at two separate tropical things. The one a little closer to the southeast coast would be the 94L, which if so, the next couple names we have Umberto coming up, and then is it Imelda?
Yeah, I
I think
believe
so.
so. Yeah. Putting me
So
on the
those are the
spot.
next two names up, and
Right.
the I name, I think you know this.
Oh, yeah.
People watching may or may not, is the letter that has been retired the most.
Yep.
I believe it's about what, like 12 or 13 times now.
It's it's like when it comes up, we all know we typically
Right.
don't like it. I mean, Irma, Ian, we could keep going and going and going.
And then I think the name everyone's waiting for this year. So then we'll have Jerry and then Karen's up. So
Yeah,
everyone, whenever I show a name list, for some reason, everyone comments on that name.
I'd like to see your manager, please, Jeremy.
Right.
It's like every 5 years when that comes up, I forget about it until all of a sudden people just start asking for the manager. And it's like, oh, got it.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I've known a few Karens and they've been fine. Like,
Yes.
I don't
Very
know.
pleasant.
I don't know how that became a thing, but I digress. Okay. All right. So that's the European. I was looking at this morning, and I think it's interesting. So let's go back and let's look at the Euro AI model and just kind of see where we're at here. Okay. Because
And then is
so
this the 0 or 6Z?
this is the 60. I'll go back for you and
Okay.
just go to the 0Z just to show you.
No, no,
Okay.
no. That's good. If you want to do the 60, I was just curious if you
Yeah.
had the
Well,
kind of
so
the off hour one.
the 0Z is closer to Florida and much more impactful. So that's at least worth mentioning there.
Okay. You can go
So
ahead and discuss that.
yeah, well, just don't love it, right? So it also
Right.
goes back to this idea of like different model runs have different ideas. So from the 00Z, where the models were scraping up the eastern seaboard on the European, to the 6Z, where they were a little further away. Again, we're not looking at anything other than like trends, and trends are your friend, that kind of a thing. So we're just trying to follow this and kind of see where it goes. All right, let's go over and look at the European AI ensembles. And I think that this is almost the funniest because you end up, it develops, what the one on the right is 93, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it develops 93 quicker. 94 then moves closer to the eastern seaboard, but look at how it's just sloppy. So what basically the Euro AI is saying is we have no idea where this is going to go. We just know it's going to develop. And I think that that's at least, kind of the state of affairs here. It's the model saying, okay, there's going to be development, but we have a low confidence on where this ends up being. I think that's a good way to take it.
Right. Yeah, that look right there from the 60 doesn't give us a lot of confidence because you I say look at the trends,
Yep.
and the trend there is kind of messy.
Yes, yes, absolutely messy. So to that point again, we have an idea that something's going to get going, a couple things are going to get going. We're just not there in terms of where it goes just yet. So that's why, a lot of people have been asking, are we going to get hit? And it's like, y'all, things have not even developed yet, so we have to keep our expectations to a certain level here, right? Like
Right.
science has gotten good, but at the end of the day, we're still looking in the future, and we have to understand that.
Yeah, and I think if you take all of the ensembles, whether it's the GFS, the Euro, clearly the trend
Yep.
is the bulk of those are away from Florida,
Yep.
even likely away from my area.
Yep.
But we'll watch it. Like you said, we don't even have anything that's developed yet. It's kind of just a sheared off low sitting down there right now with all the convection displaced
Yes.
from the center.
Yeah, right. So that's kind of where we're at, and that's why we are where we are. So, it's important to keep tracking that and just understanding where we're at, right? So, again, we've got those two areas that we're monitoring for now. Those two areas that, other than Gabrielle, of course, but those two areas to track. But the Atlantic Basin is getting more active, and here we are, kind of still in the peak of season, so that tracks.
Yes, and once we get into October, the climatology says, hey, these will probably start shifting a little farther south, favoring development that may be in the Caribbean, the
Right.
Gulf, somewhere in there. And we start to get away a little bit from the main development region
Yep.
across the Atlantic. And it really seems like so far, our development this year outside of Chantal was really kind of that main development area and then curving
Yeah.
to the north and east.
Yeah, well, and once we get into October, November, it's the Caribbean and the Gulf, like you said, those are more troublesome paths because those are the paths where when you develop stuff, oftentimes they make landfall. No matter
Hmm.
how strong or weak they are, they make landfall. And another thing that I think that we should also mention, Jeremy, is that we are now, once we get into the first couple of weeks of October, we start in this whole brand new pattern. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the pattern is Eric and I take a look at it. Kind of, you get around, let's say October the 10th ish, if you had to pick one day, but really that second week into the mid part of October, we get our new weather pattern becoming established. And then what we try to do is really dive deep into the pattern for the rest of the year, October, November, December, and then it gives us some clues into the following hurricane season. So I would say this year things got a little messy with some of the dust out there. We saw some of our lows come back, but they didn't really develop a whole lot. So we're
Right.
kind of just on the tail end of things now. So I think I'm personally like I kind of want to see a new weather pattern,
Yeah.
a little bit over this one,
Yep.
and just kind of see what it is, and hopefully it's a quiet one. Now, so far this year, at least for land areas, the U.S. coastal, we've been very quiet, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's continues for the rest of hurricane season. So that's why we're always like, hey, got to pay attention, got to be ready, and hopefully once we get to November, it is very quiet.
Yeah, we'll watch and see. All right, that's all I have. Any other questions, comments, concerns, Jeremy?
No, but if anything changes, obviously people know us well enough that
Yeah.
maybe late this week, if it looks like there could be a brush by of some sort of impact or things change, we'll hop on here again.
Yeah, we will. We're always here for you. At the very least, if it looks like there's any threats, we're absolutely going to pop in. So, all right. Well, that's the very latest on the tropics from sunny Central Florida. I'm West 2 meteorologist Eric Burris.
And in Savannah, Georgia, I'm WJCL 22.